Hello students, my name is Vishal Patel. Welcome to my YouTube channel Philomath.
Okay, so our today's topic is solving a quadratic equation by completing the square method. Now, what I've done is I've divided the sum into two particular categories, that is type 1 and type 2. So type 1 is where the value of a is 1. Okay, now let's take an example. X square plus 10x minus 7 equal to 0, and we all know a. What is a? A is nothing but the coefficient of x square. So here it is only x square, means it is 1x square. Okay, so type 1 is when a equal to 1. Okay, now let's start with the method. Now the first step is you have to shift the constant on the right hand side, that is minus 7. I'm shifting on the right side, so minus 7 will become plus 7. Okay, now you have to remember a formula, that is the third term equal to half into coefficient of x the whole bracket square. Okay, now remember, if the equation is in terms of y, here it will come coefficient of y, or if it is in terms of a, here will come coefficient of a. So this will change according to the equation. Now what do you mean by third term? I'll tell you. First we'll solve this. So the next step is half into coefficient of x. If you see the equation, the coefficient of x is 10. So half into 10 bracket square. 10 and 2 will reduce to make 5. The square of 5 is 25. Now what we have to do with this 25, which is called as third term. Now this 25 you have to add on both the sides of this particular step. You can see this step. Yes, so I'm adding 25 on the left side also, as well as I'm adding 25 on the right hand side also. Okay, now this step is very important. We are using an identity a plus b bracket square equal to a square plus 2ab plus b square. Now see the colors which are matching. Okay. Now we are comparing x square to a square. We are comparing 10x to 2ab, and we are comparing 25 to b square. Okay, so a square plus 2ab plus b square is the expansion of a plus b bracket square. Okay, now see the next step what we write. Now x square is a square of x. I've written here. The middle term, we are not using that. 25 is a square of 5 bracket square. So when you put a bracket square, we don't write the middle term. We just take the first term and the last term, means x square, we wrote x here. For 25, we wrote 5 here, bracket square. And 7 plus 25, we wrote it as 32. Okay. The next step is we are taking the square root. So if you take a square root of a square, we get only term, means x plus 5 bracket square root is only x plus 5, and the square root of 32 is plus or minus 32. So always remember one thing, whenever you take a square root of any number, it is always plus or minus, not only for this sum, for any sum. Okay, now we are factorizing 32 as 2 into 2 into 2 into 2 into 2, the first group. This is the second group. So when I take the number out from this group 1 2, from the second group one more 2, so that will be 4, and this 2 which I have written in black will not make a pair, so that will come as it is. The next step is we are shifting plus 5 on this side, so we get minus 5, and these are the final answers. X equals to minus 5 plus 4 root 2, or it is x equal to minus 5 minus 4 root 2. Okay, so here it is plus or minus. So once I have written plus and once I have written minus. So we have two answers, one with the plus sign and other with a minus sign. Okay, now we'll go with type 2. Now type 2 is an equation where the value of a is not 1. So it can be anything but not 1. And remember, a cannot be 0. For a quadratic equation, a cannot be 0. So the coefficient of x square cannot be 0 for a quadratic equation. And for type 2, it is not 1. So it is any other number. That is, I've taken here 2. Okay. Now all the steps are same as type 1 except the first. What is that? You have to divide the whole equation by 2. Means we are dividing the whole equation by a. Suppose a is 3, then you'll divide by 3. If it is 5, we'll divide by 5. Okay. So once you divide by 2, what will get? 2 divided by 2, I'll get 1 here. 10 divided by 2, I'll get 5 here. Minus 7, we are shifting on that side, it will become plus 7, and then I'm dividing by 2. Okay, so this is an extra step for type 2. Rest all the steps are the same. We'll discuss now. Again, the third term is half into coefficient of x because the equation is in terms of x, bracket square. Here x, the coefficient of x is 5. So half into 5 bracket square. 5 and 2 will not reduce. So don't convert your answer in decimal. Keep it as it is in fraction. Find the square, that is 25 by 4. Again the same step, we have to add 25 by 4 on the left hand side also as well as on the right hand side also. Again we are comparing this equation with a plus b bracket square, that is a square plus 2ab plus b square. See the terms which are matching with the colors. Okay, now x square is a square of x. I wrote here, as I've discussed, the middle term will not come. 25 upon 4 is a square of 5 upon 2 bracket square. 7 plus 25 by 4, we are adding, making LCM, and we'll get answer as 53 by 4. Next step is the same, taking square root. If you take the square root from this term, x plus 5 upon 2 bracket square, the square sign will go and I'll get plus or minus square root. Now remember this, here the fraction is 53 upon 4 whose square root is plus or minus root 53 upon 2. Okay, now 53 is not a perfect square, so I'm writing 53 under the root. 4 is a perfect square, so I'm writing 2 here. Now make sure that this root sign is only for 53, not for 2. Okay, next step, we are shifting plus 5 upon 2 on that side, so it will be minus 5 upon 2. So minus 5 upon 2 plus minus root 53 upon 2. We have the same denominators, so I can combine the two fractions and I can write x equal to minus 5. Once I'll take a plus sign, that is plus root 53 upon 2, and the other answer is x equals to minus 5 minus root 53 upon 2. Okay, so whenever you solve a quadratic equation by completing the square method, remember two types. Type 1 is when a is 1, type 2 is when a is other than 1. Okay, thank you.